Hi everyone, I hope you are so really good in these days and you are having a good day or a good week or good weekend. Well, first of all, I would like to regard about the little time that you give me to know different type of knowledge. I think this knowledge is so important in this new world about informatic and and artificial intelligence. But in spite of that introduction, I'm going to do a new tips about English and informatic engineering. In this session, we learned about difference between say and tell. I think this is so important to have a good reported speech, and you make this knowledge in the field of English language. And then we are talking about the normalization in the database. So, uh, in spite of this introduction, I will share my screen to introduce in this new lesson. Well, first of all, I will speak about this English tip that I told you a few moments ago. Well, the verbs tell and say are both used to report speech, but they have key difference in grammar and usage. The most important distinction is that tell almost always requires a direct object, the person being spoken to, and while say does not. This part is so important when we refers, for example, description in the manual, in the Python manual. For example, the Python manual said, or the manager told us we need to follow these guidelines, or so on. And here's a breakdown of their difference. Well, what is this main important key difference? These are four important key difference. Direct object. The primary rule is that you tell someone something. When you use tell, you need to put the verb tell follow the someone, for example, me, you, um, we, and other object, and next with the something. For example, the verb tell needs an object like me, he, the class, the manual. For example, specify who received the message. We need to specify who are receiving the message that we need to that we send, and you simply say something. The verb say does not require an object. If you want to specify who was spoken who was spoken to, you must use say to something. For example, tell um, my mother tell me do my homework, for example, and say the dictionary say in the dictionary the dictionary said or say someone something, for example. And focus say often focus on the extract words that we were spoken, making it common indirect quotes. Tell focuses more on the context or information being covered yet rather than the specific phrasing. Instructions and orders. Tell is commonly used for giving instructions or orders. For example, she taught him to close the door, or your manager taught her uh, develop a pipeline to improve the quality of the data. And say is not used in this way. Now we can't use say to order something, or or say instruction that something that someone want to that someone do or made. And specific phrases, there are several fixed expressions where only verb is correct. For example, you always tell a story, a lie, a joke, or the truth. I tell you the truth about the SQL, or I tell a joke about something, or anywhere, or anything. You would never say a lie or say a story. No, I can't say a story about evolution of data science or data engineering. This is the a tip about this difference between tell and say, when you can use this verb. Well, in this moment, we are talking about the normalization. Normalization in this part, I can't put the slide about third form, but in this moment I will create that and spelling about that. Well, first of all, I describe what is the normalization. Normalization is a process in SQL used to organize your organized database into tables and columns. The main goals are to reduce the data redundancy and improve the integrity. It achieves this by breaking down large table into smaller. For example, if we have a enormous data set, normalization help us to reduce that data set in smaller tables, or if we have a largest amount of columns in our database, normalizations help us to reduce that largest table into smaller tables. Each smaller table must be contain the key aspects or the important aspects about that largest table. And in the normalization, there are three main forms. First, normal form, second, normal form, and third, normal form. But you maybe taught me what is the difference about that. So wait a moment and I will help you to understand what is the key different aspects about normalization. Well, I started with explain first normal form. Okay, in the first normal form, the first normal form says that each table, I will build a table. This is my table, and I'm going to put the name of each column. For example, ID country, country name, country name, um, description, and date. The date when the record was inserted into the database. Okay, the first normal form says is the first step about normalization and is to ensure that each column contains a single atomic value. This means there are no repeating group of columns, and each cell holds only one piece of data. For example, a single column shouldn't contain comma separated of list. This is important that in our example table, we can't um, we can't insert or have records or values that have list of elements. For example, we have one AD for our first country, and in the name of our countries, we have Mexico, and in this case, we separate our process, insert a record the following form, and put a semicolon to separate the elements, and the pipeline or job insert the record with one element separated by semicolon and put the other element. In this case, could be Paraguay. For example, the first formal says that this phase is wrong because only the first normal forms need to put one element in each cell. We need to remember that each cell is the intersection between one row and one column. This is a cell, okay? And to fix this, in the process, we need to code a restriction or data quality that the pipeline insert in correct way as the following example. Now, the pipelines must be insert the row as the same like this, 2 and insert Paraguay, and something description and something date. in each record. This is the first normal form. And the second normal form is the following. The second normal forms needs to base needs to base from first normal form. If the second if the second normal form doesn't contains the uh, the meaning about first normal forms, that is wrong. You first of all need to secure that your process or your web app, your desktop app, your mobile app insert the record in each table, in each cell. Well, nowadays there are we can insert JSONs in one cell. And in this case, maybe you break the rule. But when your process insert a JSON in one table, the SQL will help you to you manage that JSON. But you we will see this in other video. But in this case, this is the meaning about normalization. Well, the rule, the second normal form says, additionally, all non-key attributes, non-key attributes refers a column that doesn't that haven't uh, a primary key, foreign key, and so on. Okay, and if you have a composed primary key, for example, in this image, in this slide, are you are looking this structure about this table. This table, the name of this table is order details. And the primary key is a composed key. This composed key is formed with order ID, product ID. And in our table, we have order ID, product ID, quantity, product name, and unit price. Okay. The second normal form says that if you must a full dependent on entity primary key, if a non-key attribute depends on only a part of the primary key, it should be separate. For example, this primary key only refers, we have order ID that refers product name, and product ID Okay, and in this case, we have order ID and product ID. Order ID only have a dependency in non-key columns with unit price, because in this table, if we have a order ID if when a customer make uh, make make order and say I wanted to I need this amount of pieces about this product, and order ID doesn't have the dependency of the product name, and in the as this limitation occurs when product ID uh, needs a relationship about uh, non-key columns. For example, product ID doesn't have a relation with order ID, or product ID doesn't have a relation with quantity. Maybe if we have register a quantity of about a product, but in this case doesn't have a relation. There are no relation in with our primary key, and to solve this, to fix this problem, we have to separate our key columns or primary key with their with the relation between their non-key columns. For example, product ID, which is our primary key in this table, have a relation with product name, a unit price about this product, and order ID have a relation between non-key columns like product ID and quantity, and product ID maybe have a uh, maybe have a relation as a foreign key in this table to identify the product. This is the second normal form. And the third normal form is the next. The third normal form said that is building on second normal form, and a table is in three normal form if are no transitive dependencies. This means that one key attribute should not depend on other non-key attributes. What is the meaning about that? In this case, we have an employee table where employee table which have four columns: employee ID, that is our primary key, employee name, department ID, and department name. What is the wrong in this table? Well, if we have an employee ID as a primary key, and when we insert a record, we need to insert the employee name. That is correct because we need to assign a employee ID. We need to insert dependent ID. And this is something strange because department ID have a dependency to employee ID, and we need to know that one employee have only could be could be could be could be could be assigned in one department, or one department have many of employees. No, and the department ID needs to have only in one organization only have one department. For example, marketing, sales, data science, data engineering, data governance, and so on. And when we develop this table, um, we have a redundancy, and or insert will uh, make be difficult, or or insert in this table. Mm, in other words, the 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 dependency is here, and we have a redundancy in the rows inserted. In this case, we have data science and data engineering repeatedly, and this is so difficult when we have an exploration and we want to explore this data. We need to force the database, and maybe the cost in price and compute will be high to process that information of the query. If you have millions of records, imagine that you insert um, 1,000 employees, and 100 employees are in the data science department. We have we need to insert data science uh, all the time, and our app, uh, we in our app we need to code that name of department. But if we have this normal form, uh, we separe, we break the dependency into different tables. In one table, we have information about the employee, and in other table, we have each department about that company. And this is more easy to relate to analyze, and make the script make and we doesn't we don't uh, we don't uh, we don't um, we don't this doesn't consume a lot of resources in our database, and this is more easy to maintain, and manage when we wanted to have joins, or or cross different tables with employee table or department table. And this is a little explanation about a little definition about the normalization and the dirt forms. It's all for today, and I hope uh, you are get a little knowledge about this normalization, and I hope I wish you use this this normalization in your projects. See you in next time.